Samson, the strongest man in the Bible, got his power from God, but mainly used it for himself. A kid born to a barren woman, following a message from God's angel, became a judge in Israel. Unlike other judges, he fought only for his personal reasons. The story of Samson is one of the most exciting stories in the Bible. From his extraordinary birth to tussles with a lion, through the story of 300 flaming foxes, battles with the Philistines, and struggling with love and a weakness for women's, all lead him to a brave but tragic end. In a heroic sacrifice, he brings down the temple of Dagon on himself, taking the lives of thousands of Philistines. Samson wasn't the last judge of Israel, he was among the earliest. Most judges in the Bible were leaders, either tribal or national, leading armies and bringing salvation to Israel. Some judges, like Ehud, were celebrated for personal acts of heroism, such as defeating Eglon, the king of Moab. Samson stands out as a unique judge. Unlike others, he didn't judge, lead armies, or bring salvation to his people. Something to keep in mind. There's a striking similarity between the birth stories of the prophet Samuel and Samson in the Bible. They're technically close, just 5 chapters apart. Now, let's dive in. Samson's tale begins with the appearance of an angel to his barren mother. The angel declares that she will have a son, dedicated to God as a monk. This means no shaving of hair, and no drinking of wine or liquor. This son is destined to save the people of Israel from the Philistines. You will become pregnant and have a son whose head is never to be touched by a razor because the boy is to be a Nazirite, dedicated to God from the womb. He will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. Judges 13 verse 5. When Samson was born, God's great spirit started beating on him. He used this power to fight against the Philistines who ruled in the southern part of Israel during his time as a leader. In some stories about Samson, he liked 3 Philistine women. First, there was a Philistine woman from Timnah. Samson wanted to marry her, so he asked his parents for permission. His parents tried to convince him not to marry her. Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? Judges 14 verse 3. But Samson did not hesitate and eventually married her. Their relationship was short. During their relationship, the story of the killing of the lion whose body turned into honey was introduced, which Samson took and gave to his parents. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Judges 14 verse 9. During the story of fighting a lion and turning his corpse into honey, Samson and his wife split up. Later, Samson decided to go back to her, but he realized that her father had groomed her to someone else. Feeling upset, Samson caught 300 foxes, attached torches to their tails, and let them loose in his wife's dad's fields. This caused a big fire, burning all the crops. The Philistines decided to take revenge for the act of burning, and went out with a large force to fight Samson and the tribe of Judah. The Philistines went up and camped in Judah, spreading out near Lehi. Judges 15 verses 9 to 10. To prevent a war, 3,000 people from the tribe of Judah decided to bring Samson to the Philistines. They promised not to hurt him, just hand him over. Samson agreed and let them tie him up. When they delivered him to the Philistines, the chains just melted from his hands. Then he found a donkey's jawbone and used it to defeat 1,000 Philistines. The Philistines, wanting to find a way to defeat Samson, decided to focus on the women in his life. They attempted to use each woman to kill him. In a later part of his story, Samson was with a Philistine prostitute from Gaza, his second woman. When the Philistines discovered that Samson was in her house, they tried to capture him. However, he escaped in the middle of the night. Not only did he break out of the closed city, but he also lifted the city gates from their place and carried them to the top of a mountain on the outskirts of Hebron. Then he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate, together with the 2 posts, and tore them loose, bar and all. He lifted them to his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. Judges 16 verse 3. The third woman he falls in love with is Delilah. Even though he hates the Philistines, Samson falls for a Philistine woman. Their love happens fast. Some time later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. Judges 16 verse 4. The Philistines figured out that to harm Samson, they needed to involve his women. So, the Philistine intelligence officers approached Delilah. They convinced her to seduce Samson so that he would discover the secret of his power, and offered her to spy for them in exchange for money. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so we may tie him up and subdue him." Judges 16 verse 5. Samson falls into her trap and reveals his secret. He does not shave his head, an indication that he is a monk by divine command. Delilah then betrays Samson by cutting off the hairs on his head, and the Philistines take control of him, gouging out both of his eyes and imprisoning him. Throughout his life, Samson turned to God only twice for assistance. The first time when he was in danger of dying of thirst. He cried out to the Lord, "You have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" Judges 15 verse 18. When he was captured and his eyes gouged out, the Philistines took him out of his prison in Gaza and brought him to the Dagon temple to celebrate his defeat. In the temple, Samson asked a boy to guide him to the pillars holding up the building. Then, he had a thought. "Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other. Judges 16 verses 28 to 29. He grabbed the pillars and prayed to God, and the whole structure fell on everyone celebrating. Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Judges 16 verse 30. "Let me die with the Philistines," Samson said heroically as he brought down the Dagon temple on himself and the people inside. Samson, who only acted for himself, seeking personal revenge without any moral or national accomplishment, seeks revenge one last time. This act symbolizes and expresses the self-respect of a man who won't give up but is willing to sacrifice himself to be remembered as an honorable man in national history. The biblical writer spends 4 whole chapters on Samson, more than any other judge, providing a detailed account of his life. The story starts with his parents before he was born and concludes with a detailed description of his death and burial. Samson's story is a captivating life tale that has inspired stories we know, like Hercules. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. You can share with us what you know by leaving a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. Thank you so much and see you next time.